Keith Tebow from FRCMedia, thank you for joining us as we're heading toward the middle and end of January. The spring college semester will be beginning across our region, and Bristol Community College is getting back at it next Monday, January 24th. And it's going to be as close to a normal semester as possible, considering all the things we're facing in terms of the pandemic. I'm pleased to be joined by the president of Bristol Community College, Dr. Laura Douglas. Dr. Douglas, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I hope everyone's staying safe and healthy out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the spring semester 2022 begins on Monday. And as I referenced, it's going to be somewhat more of a normal experience for the college as staff is back. Students will be back as well with some safeguards in place. Talk about what we can expect for the spring semester here at Bristol.
Yeah, so we have many more face-to-face courses this spring. Our students are really anxious to be in person. So many of them had stopped out because online just wasn't the way to do it. So we have really gradually been increasing those courses. But this spring, we are so lucky because we have implemented a vaccination requirement for students as well as our employees. So we are very excited that as of January 3rd, we are a vaccinated community, and that provides for a much safer teaching and learning environment for everyone. We've had a lot of safeguards in place since the start of this pandemic. In fact, we're just really blessed to be able to say that we've had no transmissions that have occurred on our campuses, and it's truly wonderful to know that these things that we have in place are working so very well. So we have altered all of our HVAC, all of our airflow, all of our purifiers for our air, the things that you don't see. Probably that's one of the biggest things, is that we're all breathing very clean air, and we have great flow to make sure that the air is not stagnant. And so that's really wonderful. We are using our masks, which are very important, and we do have very good high quality masks available for our students and anyone that comes to campus. Automatically at every door there's a level 3 surgical mask for anyone who wants to use it. We also have higher quality masks as well for other situations, other employees and students. We also have used surveillance testing way back since August of 2020. I think we were the first community college in Massachusetts to put together a surveillance testing program. And surveillance COVID testing is testing for those people who may have COVID that don't know it. So for people who aren't showing symptoms. We started with the Fall River Fire Department as our partner, and then we were able to transition to the Broad Institute, which is out of Cambridge. And so at all of our locations, Attleboro, Fall River, New Bedford, and Taunton, we actually have every week we have a schedule where our employees and our students can sign up for regular testing to see if they are carriers of COVID-19. And every week, especially in the last few weeks, we have people who are surprised to find out that they do have COVID. And of course, they're not necessarily delighted to know that they have COVID, but typically because they're vaccinated, their symptoms are low. But what they are delighted to know is how they can then stop the spread from their colleagues, from their fellow students, and especially with their loved ones and family members that they're interacting with, typically in a maskless environment. So that has been super important for all of us to have this access to surveillance testing as a way to really stop the spread. So we do have, we've been using rapid testing as well. We have rapid tests that we use for all of our athletes. Our athletes are basketball players. That is a group that plays without masks. They are vaccinated. So one of the strategies is that before every practice, every game, they are doing their rapid testing so that we can make sure that they can play safely and also not transmit from if they are in fact infected by the virus. So it's a lot of work. It's a very heavy lift. Our health services area is really terrific. terrific. And, one of the things that we do every week, Keith, is we have a Bristol Updates Live every Friday,
Right.
where we do basically a gathering of the whole college community of employees. And we talk about COVID, and we bring updates, who can get boosted, who can do, who's ready for this, or changes that are taking place. We just want to make sure everyone is educated, because we really do believe that an educated employee is one that's going to follow the directions and going to help keep us safe. And that's really
Yeah.
important to me.
So, Dr. Douglas, as as the semester starts, there's been concerns on a number of college campuses with the spread of the Omicron variant, and a lot of campuses have had to pivot in some way. Some are actually uh, starting their semester virtually. Bristol decided not to do that. What was in that decision, and why is the college just moving forward as normal this semester, as compared to what we've seen on some other college campuses?
Right. So that's a great question. It's so interesting to us as community college leaders that last year we were at the disadvantage because we didn't have a vaccination requirement, and we weren't a residential life community. So if you have students at your campus and you can keep them contained and you can keep them without COVID, then that's a really great strategy. And students that are living in dormitories, they can take off their masks, they can eat, they can socialize, all of those things. Well, at Bristol Community College, we've been masked, and now that we're vaccinated, we are not taking those masks off. So it makes it much more easy for us to make sure that we are not spreading the virus. So, our students are part-time students. They're not on campus. Most of them are part-time students. We do have full-time students, obviously, but most of them are part-time. The density is much lower. When students are on campus, they're wearing masks at all times, and then they go home. So we don't have this situation where students are hanging out in a dormitory or in a social setting. They are on campus in their masks, and we can prevent that spread. Again, we don't have a history of transmission, and we believe that all the safeguards that we have in place will be fine. Now, if something changes and we feel as though our level of safety is not what it should be, or we have breakdowns, then we will have to analyze that immediately, and we are prepared to make changes.
Yeah. So in terms of when the college, I may have asked you this before, when the college announced the vaccination mandate back, I believe, last fall, as we head into the spring semester, what was the reaction like, particularly from students? Some may have had some barriers. I know that may be a barrier for some students to be able to get a vaccination, to make this requirement part of their life as they come back to campus. So what was the reaction like from students when it was announced, and how have they, in great numbers, adapted to the policy?
Yeah, so the policy is actually one that is quite flexible for students.
Mm.
So if students don't want to get vaccinated, they can take online classes and they can access their services virtually. So academic advising, or career counseling, or mental health support, all of that can be provided virtually. We actually had overwhelming support from students with this requirement, because the students who really do want to be on campus seem to be very much willing to get vaccinated to have that opportunity. We have allowed students to ask for accommodations, whether they be religious or medical, so that we can in some way try to help and support them through with their religious beliefs or with their medical needs. So we have a process for that. But we have been surprised at how few students have actually requested an accommodation. So we just feel as though students who didn't want to get vaccinated are just comfortable studying in that online space.
Yeah. Is the college also seeing, I know when I spoke with you in the fall, due to the pandemic and other socioeconomic obstacles students may face, that, some of them have not been coming back to the college, or to college in general. Are we seeing any shifts positively in terms of students starting to come back in greater numbers here, not only at Bristol, but what you've been seeing from some of your colleagues in higher education?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm so happy to talk about it. Last summer, we decided with some of our federal funding that we would invest in developing a success center, a center that was fully dedicated to bringing back our students. Over the course of the last 2 years, we've lost 3,000 students in the pandemic. And we wanted to reach out to these students, give them wraparound services, support to bring them back. And we've had great results in working with these students. And the most interesting takeaway, I think, is that so many of these students would only come back if we had more in-person classes and services. So
Mm.
there is definitely a direct link to making sure that we have the courses and the modalities that students want in order to get the support that they feel that they need. Other community colleges have also hit some enrollment declines. They've lost students. This seems to be part of what we're experiencing, where many of our students are not as well resourced. So when the pandemic started, they might have lost jobs. They've had to rebuild. They've had to take care of sick loved ones and family members, and some of them themselves have gotten sick. So it's really, put a damper on higher education, and maybe other things have come to the forefront, and we can certainly understand that. But for the well-being of Bristol County and for our workforce and for our families, we really need to get these students back. They need to earn a sustainable wage. They need to have careers that will last over time, especially as we get out of this pandemic. A sustainable career is what's really good for a family as well as our individual students.
I'm gonna have you open up your crystal ball, and let's move forward in saying that things will improve here with the pandemic, and we become more of something that we saw last year. Once people got vaccinated, the weather turned warmer, things became a little more normal, and we've used that word normal and new normal probably a little bit too much over the past 2 years. But as we head toward the semester and we get toward the end of the semester, when there's some celebrations, are there plans to have celebrations, hopefully more in person, as we head toward, May and we get toward the commencement season?
Yes, in fact, we also are planning many face-to-face student activities. So
Right.
just because we're in a pandemic, it doesn't mean that we can't gather, wear our masks, do fun activities, just like we would do in our personal lives, right? So sometimes we visit with folks at a place where we're wearing a mask, those kinds of things. We can do all of that. But at this point, we are definitely hoping and planning for an in-person commencement and other activities. And yes, in the summer months and the warmer months, it was certainly easier to do more things outside, which we knew were safer. But with our vaccination requirement, we know that there are many more things that we can do inside, and we can do them safely. But yes, we do hope. My crystal ball has a lot of hope that we will be getting out of this pandemic, and things will slowly return to normal as people become more comfortable. The pandemic has definitely been very emotional for many people. There's still a lot of sadness. People have lost loved ones. People are afraid of getting COVID. All of those are very real emotions that we need to support and accommodate. And we just want to make sure that our students are well and healthy and ready to learn. And I know that with the community, we can do this together.
Yeah. Dr. Laura Douglas, president of Bristol Community College, as always, thank you for your time. I do appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll talk as the semester progresses and we head toward that commencement season. So I appreciate your time.
Take care. Let's have a great summer. Let's have a great spring semester
Absolutely. And a summer's and
and a
hopefully a
great
good summer
summer.
as well. Absolutely. All right, Dr. Douglas, thank you.
Bye.
And thank you for joining us here at FRC Media. I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great day.